I thought I was having heart problems. And so here I'm like, okay, but I need to keep this life insurance because if something happened,
Yeah, I gotta have a way to cover it.
I mean, that's the type of stuff that was literally going through my head as I was making these drastic changes and cuts. So there was one story that someone was telling me. The person said, like, yeah, man, it is really bad. Doesn't look good here, but I believe in Ryan 100%. And to hear someone tell me that, that's just jet fuel to my tank. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that we are going to be wildly successful. We want to disrupt the construction industry by, being a people first company and empowering the people and allowing them to grow.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Gathering the Kings podcast. I am your host, Chaz Wolfe, and I just wrapped up an incredible conversation with our guest and king of the heavy civil construction industry, Ryan Schmitt. We talked about his valley of darkness where it was rough, and he lost millions. We talked about what it truly means to have a people-first company. And we also talked about giving back to the community. And I know that if you are a business owner going through it right now, and you know what I mean by it, or if you're just looking to build some grit when it comes to a tough time in your business, this conversation is for you, and it is going to be extremely valuable. Make sure that you subscribe, hit the like button, maybe put a little comment down there for me. Tell me that you like this stuff because it literally helps us continue to bring on incredible guests, and I appreciate you. Enjoy the show. How we doing, Ryan? Good morning.
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Well, I appreciate you being here. This is going to be a fun show. They're always fun, but you've got a, as they say in today's world, a boring business, the industry-wise maybe, but you are doing amazing and super exciting things, and I want to get into it. So tell us, what kind of business do you have?
Yeah, so I own a heavy civil construction firm. We're located in Jacksonville, Florida. I kind of do work in Northeast Florida and Southeast, depending on the type of projects. But yeah, we self-perform heavy civil construction scopes, primarily focusing on public roadway and utility infrastructure, private site development and construction, and then water and wastewater treatment plant construction. We largely self-perform a lot of that work and, have currently about 230 employees that, between estimators, project managers, superintendents, foremen, and then skilled trades to keep it all going. Been in business for, will be 17 years.
Wow.
Later this fall. So not real old, but not real young, but would really enjoy it. Really focused on just growing the company around our people and our culture.
Yeah, and I know we're going to talk about that quite a bit here today. And you've even got a newer development going on inside of your company that we can get to talk about here today. But 230 employees, you're doing huge projects. Was that from day one? You just walked right into that, or was this a long-term 17-year progression?
So it was an interesting progression. So I had been in this industry prior to starting this company. I worked for another company for almost 17 years. And then when I left there, wanted to do something on my own. I wanted to build a company that I knew that we could build around a particular culture. So we started out in 2000, officially started in 2007, but really kind of got going early in 2008. And I bought the assets of a company called Petticoat Contracting that had been around for almost 18, 19 years at the time and had a nice little business. The woman who owned it, I had known for many years. We served in some leadership roles that served our industry, and she had fallen ill and was looking for an exit strategy. And we kind of got together at the same time that I'd left. Didn't really plan it, didn't know that option was really there, but very kind of serendipitously, we kind of got together after I departed my previous employer and came up with a plan where I would buy the assets of her company and would honor her by keeping the Petticoat in the name. And so I set up Petticoat Schmitt separate from her company, which was Petticoat Contracting.
Yeah.
And over about a year, we, gradually brought her people over as they wound down their work. And I bought specifically just the assets that I needed, and whatever I didn't buy, they sold it, to a third party. And so it was a transition that lasted about a year, and literally started out by renting, 3 cubicles in her office and just starting to bid work. And we picked up work and started it about the time that they were winding down their work. So it was a great transition, especially in the middle of the Great Recession. This is
Yeah.
2008 and 9. She had a lot of pre-recession work that she was able to complete and very profitably, because as she got closer to completing that work, I absorbed more and more of her overhead. So she was able to really profitably close out a company in the middle of the recession
Yeah.
that you might not otherwise happen. And we were able to ramp up lean and mean. We only had the equipment that we needed, and we brought over her people, and
Yeah.
we were able to successfully get some nice infrastructure contracts right off the bat, and actually did pretty well during those recession years,
Yeah.
and again, started up and grew the company from there. And it's funny, I was telling the story the other day, everyone talks about their entrepreneurial hardships of getting started in those first few years. And our first few years, I mean, trust me, we worked hard. Everyone really worked hard,
Yeah.
but I think our real headwinds came about 7 or 8 years in.
Yeah, and I want to get to that for sure. I think it's super unique about how you started. There are plenty of businesses or business owners rather that start by purchasing. I know I did. I've since started a few, so I've got kind of a taste of both. But this transition, really, what I heard you say, a win-win, and I even heard you use the word honor. You wanted to honor her with the name, and it even sounded like you were trying to honor her. You got actually excited as you were telling me about how she exited profitably, almost like you were wearing that like a badge. Like I helped her do that. I'm just hearing like win-win, honor. Like, was this important to you back then? Were you thinking about this consciously? It's just kind of just who you are. Give us a little insight there.
Yeah, gosh, I would say, yeah, I mean, that's how I am. And well, yeah, I was thinking about it. That's kind of something that I guess just comes normally. I mean, she was, a colleague and a friend first and foremost. And I've known her, her family, her, her team, and, just really wanted to do this in a fashion that, she was able to get the most out of it she could, and we could, and definitely a win-win. And, yeah, I was very proud that, she was able to exit her company in a terminal illness
Right.
situation during the Great Recession,
Yeah.
but had a successful exit,
Yeah.
really. And so, yeah, I was real proud of that. And I look at the culture and the fabric of our company, and it's part of that. It's part of who we are, and
Yeah.
we were able to, leverage the reputation and name of her company, and I was able to leverage the reputation of in the industry.
Yeah.
And so we were able to start up Petticoat Schmidt, and uh, I think everyone did really well with it, and we were able to move forward and leverage, I think, not only her reputation, their company's reputation, but some of the thing I had done previously and the reputation that I had. So it worked really well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was really she wound up passing some years ago. And so, I was very proud to know that we were that instrumental in helping her. And she had a daughter that was able to, transfer her estate and wealth in a fashion that, during some pretty rough economic
Yeah.
times turned out pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think that there's an opportunity there for the listener to challenge themselves and ask themselves, are they looking for win-wins? That negotiation opportunity that you went through could have been, pretty hard nosed, right? She has limited options. You probably could have squeezed her. Most probably would have. And so I think it's just a really cool opportunity, not only just to honor you in the moment, but to show how win-wins actually do exist in business. And we don't have to be, the backstabbing, squeezing business owner that everybody thinks that you have to be in order to win. And so I appreciate your perspective there. I want to get to how that fabric is into your culture, but let's just kind of fast forward a little bit. You said you came into some headwind, 6, 7, 8 years in, and it was probably a little bit more than a headwind based on some of the things that I've heard you talk about previously, but everybody has those moments. You've called it a valley of darkness, is what I've heard you say. What was this valley of darkness for you? What did it look like?
No, I look back on it now, and it definitely was something that impacted us, but it really made us who we are today as an organization, and definitely who I am as a leader. So going back to 2008, 16, we had grown pretty substantially since we started in 2008, really was kind of our first year in business. And we were doing some nice sized projects and we had grown with, we were over 200 people and we had done some projects, we did some DOT projects in the history of the company and I'd always done that. But we had a few projects starting about 2016 and then 17 that were larger projects that came across some real issues that were outside of our control and responsibility, not to get into too much contractual detail, but, differing site conditions and poor design. There was a couple large ones with the DOT, and then there was one water treatment plant project that was with a smaller municipality that all of them had little issues that turned into big issues. And the clients took the route of a very adversarial route. And instead of working on us with us to try and help resolve it, even though it was their responsibility, kind of forced us in a situation where we had to take legal action.
Wow.
So, going into 16, we kind of had a few of those going and we didn't make any money. And 17 really didn't make it, just breaking even, which is not a healthy environment for a business. Then in 2018, lost a lot of money, a lot of money. And then, so, some pretty substantial things happened. I mean, basically lost our bonding. I had to recapitalize the entire company.
Wow.
I had those sleepless nights where I was staring at the ceiling and just, when I kind of realized where we were going and the light at the end of the tunnel was a train. It was not us coming out of the tunnel. And,
Yeah.
um, fortunately I had some colleagues in a business group that they were the first ones I really just, kind of disclosed and said, guys, it's bad.
Yeah.
So, and it was awesome. We kind of had an emergency meeting and they, gave me some wise tips moving forward. Probably the biggest one is like, have you told your wife yet? I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I haven't told anyone. And
Yeah.
so and they're like, well, go home and tell your wife. And I did. And I was like, hey, we could lose everything.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, as long as we're together, that's all that matters, which was, believe it or not, just a great day for me.
Oh,
Just
super
that was
empowering.
about the kindest words I could have ever heard.
Yeah.
And then just got busy trying to fix it, and again, I had these strong colleagues that were peers and business owners. And, I actually had one of them that lent me a substantial amount of money. I had to collateralize the loan with some assets that I had that, uh, and then any other asset that I had that had any equity or value to it, I sold.
Yeah.
Um, and then recapitalized the entire company, refinanced our fleet of equipment, um, and basically did whatever I could to wake up every day and walk into the punch and fight through these situations that were going with these jobs that were just really a huge, huge headwind on the company. And then just got busy figuring out, okay, well, what do I have to do to get through this? Because there's no other option. I mean, there's just I'm all in, right? There's no option. There's no like I give up or quit. As you will know, being a business owner, you got to solve the problem. So then it was just a massive effort to, okay, how do I get better as a business? What do we do? I looked at our leadership team. I looked at, our processes. We adopt the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, which you might have heard
Yeah.
of, the great game of business, complete transparency with a company. And still to this day, share the financials with everyone in the company. We project our financials every Monday at 3:30 when we have our entire company huddle. And, during those days when we were really, really, really looking bad, we did not have anyone jump ship. And wasn't from me hiding the truth. It was very clear and transparent of what was going on.
Yeah.
We shared the financials. Um, but I, got busy of putting better processes in place. We very much cleared up of who we wanted to work for and who we didn't want to work for,
That's right.
who we needed on the team. We had to make some tough changes and, we, just fought through.
Yeah.
implemented some profit sharing type programs, both on the project level and the company level that, everyone saw. And, when we got out of this, that there was a path where people could do really well. And so, 18 was a huge, huge loss. And again, lost our bonding, and fortunately having a relationships and reputation in the industry. Like I said, I got some personal loans outside the business, got some bank loans, went deep into our line, had a great friend in the surety industry who had a small surety who helped us cobble together some small surety lines that we could at least bid some small stuff.
Right.
And then we had to focus on some unbonded work and just muddling our way through, looking at every single dollar, just really struggling with cash flow, but made our way through, and we're kind of coming out in 2019. We kind of got our way up to at least breaking even again, but we really saw some of the momentum of these changes and these processes. And I knew in my heart, I'm like, man, we could really do some great things here.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit as we were coming out of it, and that set us back on especially some of the private work that we were doing. But I tell you, thank God for PPP
Right.
money. If we didn't get that, we probably wouldn't be talking today.
Wow.
But every single of those dollars went into keeping us afloat, going. And then, we gradually improved our bonding situation, got some bigger and bigger bonding lines, paid off some of the debt that we had taken. I paid off the outside lender, a friend of mine that lent me a substantial amount of money, got out of our line, really got some footing back. And, but then I look back, it's like, man, between the actual losses and then the opportunity cost of that number
Yeah.
was equivalent. And I did the math of like, see what does it cost to send the kid to Harvard? Okay. I need to be about smart as 20 of those, or 200. I'm sorry, 200 of those. Cause that's the order of magnitude that
Yeah.
I had to make up.
Yeah.
But instead of focusing on, what we missed out on, is like focusing on the future. And what kind of company do we have to be to leave that in the background, leave that behind us, and build a great company that just dwarfs that whole valley of darkness that we went through. So between, really adopting the great game of business philosophies of open book management, sharing those dollars, sharing the profits of the company, building, when I say a people first company, I mean, we are a robust people first company. We've got a full-time training and development manager. We've got career path curriculums. I was just in St. Louis last week with some other like-minded contractors going over workforce training and development in the heavy civil industry. And we've started to get that momentum, and we've come out of that valley of darkness. And, it's funny, as painful as it was, I was at a conference last year and got a question that caught me off guard. I was with myself and our president, and someone said, well, what was your most impactful project?
Mm.
And I just, without thinking, spit out the one that was the one that lost the most money, that was at the very bottom of the valley.
Yeah.
A job that lost probably about $7 million just in that one job. And I just spit that one. I didn't even think about it. It just came out of my mouth. And, our president, he kind of looked at me, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for that job, we wouldn't be where we are today. And we're in such a great place. I see the impact of the lives of the people that are coming to work for us. They're being treated, and they're working for a company that's very unique. It's affecting their family lives. It's affecting their future. We're sharing in the profits, but sharing in everything else too. The information of what's going on. We have of 230 people. We have a company wide, like 7 to 8 minute huddle every morning with everyone. And we're going over lessons learned and shout outs. And
Wow.
we put it on the company app, and we've got an online training platform.
That's cool.
And probably the pinnacle of it, of where we're going this year, in about 3 months, we're in the middle of the process, but we'll close the transaction probably in June, is we're going to an ESOP where I'm selling a portion of the company to the employees. And then the ultimate goal will be 100% South recovery.
Yeah. Hey, kings and queens, Chaz Wolfe. I want to talk to you about something that's super important to me. We put a lot of time and effort, we meaning myself and my team, into this podcast, into the content that goes out every single day. And if you have been getting any sort of value or insight from this, we want it to be able to reach other business owners too. So we would love if you would like, comment, share, leave a review, post, share again, all of the things on social media, on all the different platforms, or even on the podcast mediums of Apple and Spotify. We would love to be able to get our content into more hands, more entrepreneurs, so they can grow their business as quick as possible. Together, we are building a community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are committed to growing their businesses to new heights. So let's do this. Let's help each other. Let's help each other grow. What a pinnacle. In all seriousness, I mean, from the beginning, you had this people first thought from back in your story a few minutes ago. At the beginning, even taking good care of your people, and even actually the previous owners' people, you kind of took pride in that even. And so for you to be able to come to this pinnacle is probably pretty special. I want to press into that a little bit. But my question for you first, from this valley of darkness, how you as the owner, or as we say on the show, a king, carrying the weight, the weight of the valley, the weight of the crown, weight of responsibility, like all of those things, especially during that time, was just really heavy. Like really, really heavy, like heavier than all of your equipment. and you obviously not only pulled it out, but you've pulled it out in such a way to where now hundreds of other people get the benefit, not just even you, but hundreds of others. What was the strength? You mentioned a group of guys that are around you, our business folks. You mentioned your wife. What were some of the pieces there that gave you that strength or courage, and or maybe even belief? You talked about, I still believed we could do something special. Why was it like that? What gave you that courage?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it was overwhelming stress. As I mentioned, I mean, I looked at every single dollar that we could cut or I could liquidate. One of them was, I've got this insurance plan through the business that, is kind of like key man insurance. In the event that something happens to me, the company is taken care of. It's been in place for a long time. Well, I was cutting every single dollar, and I was like, well, we'll just cut that out. But then I'm like, well, I've got these chest pains that are really, I'm thinking I'm like, well, let's cut back to the bare minimum. I can keep that because my physical health was in question. I mean, fast forward now, I realized that was stress manifesting itself in just the physical, the physical pain.
Yeah.
But, I thought I was having heart problems. And so here I'm like, okay, but I need to keep this life insurance, because if something happened,
Yeah, I got to have a way to cover it.
to make sure everyone is taken care of, my family
Yeah.
and this company. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the type of stuff that was literally going through my head as I was making these drastic changes and cuts. Then it's like, okay, well, I got to move forward, literally thinking every morning, I like wake up, walk into the punch. But then, I saw the value of a relationship time and time again really come out. Like, that first person who reached out to me, and when I told him, and he was part of my business group, and literally saying, how much do you need?
Pretty powerful.
And I'm like, I need $2 million. And I didn't even know if that was the right number or not. And he's like, okay, all right, let's get to work on how we do that. And granted, we structured a loan and interest and collateral, but I mean, but he said the only reason, because he's like, Ryan, I know your abilities, I know your character, I know your business acumen,
Yeah.
he was all in.
Yeah.
And then another, someone who, helped me out with the surety situation, all in. I mean, when my previous surety left me, I called this guy at night. He's like, I'll be in your office tomorrow morning.
Wow.
And then our leadership team, I mean, golly, those people, I mean, there were some days where I felt overwhelmed, and they showed strength for me,
Yeah.
quite honestly, on some of those days. And they were all in. They easily could have gone to work somewhere else. It wasn't like we were in a recession and every company was struggling. We were struggling. Everyone else was hiring and really doing pretty good. So, just the loyalty and conviction and relationships that, you know, it really lifted me up, really inspired me. Many times I thought, wow, I am not deserving of this. I mean, I'd heard, there was one story that someone was telling me that they were meeting with someone else, and the person said, like, yeah, man, it is really bad. Doesn't look good here, but I believe in Ryan 100%. And to hear someone tell me that, that just like, well, that just, that's just jet fuel to my tank, and just was like, this is gonna, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that we are going to be wildly successful. And so it just fueled me up, during some of those days where were really dark and bleak, and sometimes didn't know what was going to happen, but you just said, well, I got to keep going. I got to keep pushing. And then coming out of it, and then we start seeing the progress, or we start seeing the rewards of the financial rewards that we're sharing with people through different incentives, and now the ESOP. It's beyond fulfilling, and it's got me convicted that, a people first company. And so literally right before I got on with you, I was with a new hire class, and I'm at every single new hire orientation.
Wow.
Every single person that comes to work in this company, I'm with them for the first 2 hours. And I walk through, well, one, I want to get to know them. Tell me about your family, where you're from, your kids. What are they into? What are you into? What do you like to do? Every single person, we go around the room, and I share the same thing, and I share the history of the company, and what we've done and where we are. And then the culture, I walk through every small, tiny component of the culture. And then we share our business plan with the entire company. And EOS, they call it the Vision Traction Organizer. We call it the Plan to Win. I walk through the entire detail of it with every single person. And then I talk about, how we do share the profits of the company, and, how we can be successful. And then we talk about the ESOP as well too. And so that just, between going through that valley of darkness and seeing what it took to get out of it, I've consumed more business books probably than most people out there.
Yeah.
And between that and then just seeing the result and the impact of being completely people focused, other people
Yeah.
focused, it's got me inspired to really take our company to where we're not only doing things different as a company, that we're going to disrupt the industry.
Yeah.
And that's kind of our vision. We want to disrupt the construction industry by, being a people first company and empowering the people and allowing them to grow.
Yeah.
And we've really got a robust training and development department now that, we want to find out what people want individually and personally, and tie their personal goals to what the company is doing, and where we can do that. And, man, I talk about, I, I have my little saying during the new hire orientation is like, I want people to be so inspired by what we're doing, and have the opportunity to think about not their paychecks, but, what are they going to put on their jet ski? Is it going to be a flame or a lightning bolt? I want those type of decisions to be running through their heads. Right.
Yeah.
And create that opportunity here, where no matter where you are in the position, to have that opportunity.
That's cool. I mean, obviously the end result of people first, you kind of just defined it as being able to attach their wins, what they think of a win or what their targets and goals are personally, to how does that help the company and how do they work together. What do you think that the guy or gal listening right now, maybe they've got a couple hundred employees like you, and they've never thought about this kind of employee first. They've thought about culture, I'm sure, if they have that many people, but they're trying to wrap their minds around how do I make it better, or all the way down to the guy that's just got one other helper. How does he take what you're saying and implement it tomorrow?
Yeah, I think, just no matter whether it's you got the one or two other guys or you got hundreds, pouring into your people. One of the major differences of pre Valley of Darkness and post Valley of Darkness for me is, how I interact with the company. As I mentioned, we practice EOS, and the EOS organizational structure professes you have a visionary and then an integrator, and then the integrator kind of runs the company. And the visionary is kind of out front, visionary, major relationships. And I'm in that visionary role, and our president and COO is the integrator. And, major relationships are one of my big focus, but the most major relationship is the relationship I have with our entire team. So where pre Valley of Darkness, I was in my office, head down, grinding it out, thinking that's where I was best suited for the company.
Mm.
I was totally wrong. I'm best suited for the company where I am now, post Valley of Darkness, outside of my office. In fact, I don't even have an office. I'm sitting in a spare empty office right now talking to you. I just find an empty space here or there with my backpack, and I'll sit down in different parts of the office. I engage with people, but I also have regularly scheduled meetings, probably 2, 3, 4 times a week. I'll be on a job site first thing in the morning with biscuits and questions, and I call them feedback sessions. And I'll meet with guys on the job site. Hey, what's going good? What are we doing good as a company? Where are we not so good? How can we improve? How can we better help you? A year from now, if we're having biscuits on the tailgate, what do we have to do during the course of the year for us to be successful? What would you do if you were me? And I tell them, I said, some of this stuff I'll learn, I'll go and make a decision right now. I can change it right away. Some stuff I just put in the back of my brain, and the next decision I have to make down the road, I have a better perspective from you guys on what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that process of just listening and getting honest feedback and giving people the freedom and the opportunity to talk and share what they want and need is huge. So, I don't know if I'll ever go back to having my office, because I realize, me being engaged in that. And then, we implemented a company app where everyone can share, great things that we're doing, not only during the work week on job sites, but even on the weekends. Guys are sharing their big fish they caught. And so, but it's a constant thing. I've always written notes home, like on the anniversaries and birthdays and new hire, I'll send a note home to their house to where their family sees, welcome to the team. So it's a bunch of little things, and that each one adds on top of the next. And especially when they feel like you're approachable and they can share information. Cause when I first started doing those feedback sessions, everyone was pretty darn quiet,
Mhm.
and, now being a couple years into that, they are so productive. I show up, the biscuits are passed around, and, we're talking really good, progressive type ideas. You know, People realize it's like, it's not just a bitch
Yeah.
session, it's a productive session.
Yeah.
That's how it is, because they know, like, oh no, I'm helping chart the future of the company
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. They know that you're for them.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any one thing, but just each one adds on the next, and that your biggest major relationship, when you say as a business owner, I'm in major relationships, people often think, clients and, business partners, bank, bonding,
Right.
the most major and the most important major relationship is that of with your team.
Yeah. It's easy to get lost in the office, head down, grind, like you said. I think that's a really great message. You've not just made this incredible press or push into your team and your people, but also into your community. I was looking at some stuff of you, and I think it's called Digger Day. Can you talk about Digger Day, or maybe just like your involvement with the community? Because it doesn't just go with your people; it goes beyond that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we're real passionate about giving back to our community. We've done a lot with our association. NUCA is the National Utility Contractors Association. I was the national chair in 2011 and 12 for 2 years. Our president was the national chair a while back, or one of our executive VPs was as well. So we do a lot of it in industry type stuff, and we've got some great leaders in this company that have supported our industry. But what really, really excites us is when we talk about the things that support children. There's two of them. Seamark Ranch is one that we've been involved with. I actually chaired the board some years ago, and we've got a big mud run coming up. We'll have like 60 of our people on a team, and we get matching, Petticoat Schmitt jerseys, and we support the heck out of that organization. We're helping build a couple new homes right now. We helped develop the initial infrastructure of that many years ago, and we do a lot to support that. But probably what the pinnacle of where our heart is, yeah, Digger Day, that's coming up on the 6th of April. And this will be our third annual. And what started is just uh, an event there where the local Child Cancer Fund, which is an organization that financially and emotionally supports families where children are going through cancer
Yeah.
treatments. They wanted to have some kind of like, interact with like heavy equipment, like a little day where they can go out and do stuff. So we partnered up with one of our equipment vendors because they kind of brought the opportunity to us. And the first year we called it Dozer Day, and then we got a letter from someone saying, "We've got that. We've got that term.
Oh,
You can't use it as trademark." So I'm like, "Well, we doubled. Okay, well, we came up with Digger Day, and we trademarked that, so it's
that's
ours." And
funny.
what Digger Day is, and it's evolved now, and it's gonna be big and robust this year. It's gotten bigger and bigger, but we'll set up almost every type of piece of equipment we've got from excavators, loaders, dozers, off-road trucks, rollers, and we'll set up a real orderly kind of like gated and sectioned off areas where these kids come out on a Saturday with their families. These kids were battling childhood cancer, and they come up, and we've got all our volunteers, and they get little hard hats, and they can put stickers on them and their safety vest. Then they go out there, and meanwhile, we got a DJ going and a bounce house and face painting and a pizza truck and a pipe crawl, but they can get on each one of these pieces of equipment. And if they're big enough, someone will stand right there and kind of watch them. But if they're small, they'll sit on the lap of an operator and they'll spin it around and hit the horn and dig dirt or push dirt or get on the off-road truck and go run a trail. And
That's cool.
and these kids, we always say we're digging for smiles. We're
Yeah, I
digging
love
for
that.
smiles on Digger Day. But their faces are just beaming and smiling. And a lot of times you're sitting there like next to the parents watching the kids and the stories you hear from the parents about what these kids are going through day in and day out.
Yeah.
But then you get to see them smile and their parents are smiling and they'll so many stories. They'll say, like, you don't understand. You don't understand what this kid's got. And it's like, you don't understand how important this is for them.
Yeah.
And now these kids are like looking forward to it every year when Digger Day comes back. And so it's awesome. And we're digging for smiles of these families and these children. But where we're getting smiles is from our team. I mean,
Oh,
you've got
yeah.
operators and people from the office, and their smiles are beaming all day, knowing that we can create this day for them. And what started out as just a day for them to smile and have fun, we actually started raising money because a lot of our business uh, partners and different vendors and really valued partners in what we do saw that and wanted to be a part of it. So they just started donating monies, and we sponsor each little event and part of the day. And now we're actually contributing some pretty substantial money to the Child Cancer Fund, as well as supporting these families and
I
children.
love it. You can tell just in your energy of telling that story, just the octave and the tone of your excitement just went through the roof there. And I think that that's a message for all entrepreneurs. I mean, when I had just two little franchise locations and I was, 26 years old, and I remember doing a Christmas for a couple of single mom families. But for my team to be able to like be part of that, and they sold chocolate dipped strawberries and bananas on extra things so that little dollar amount went to the pot, and they knew that every phone call and order that they took was like actually going to help a single mom family. And actually many of the single moms we've helped throughout the years have been, employees. And I just think that that message that you gave, not only of helping the end, families, but your people. You created an environment for your people to be able to be part of it, because oftentimes, at least what I have found, is that a lot of people want to do these things, but they just don't create the own opportunities for themselves. And so if they have a forward-thinking, visionary employer who's people first, this is part of it, is taking an opportunity for your people to serve others, and it's actually serving your people, which I think is just so cool. Congratulations on all that. What would you say if you had the opportunity to kind of like wheel back the clock and you're talking to the younger Ryan, and before, maybe even before you launched the business, even, I don't know, you pick the age, and you whispered in his ear, what would you tell him?
Yeah, so I hear that question a lot, and that's gosh, I probably have a list of things. But, I think early in my career is maybe it would be patience. I mean, I had a burning desire just to excel and grow and thought I really wasn't.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't see it. And then maybe it was just coming way slower, but then it's just almost the compounding effect of effort and intention and focus you don't see the results so early, and it can be frustrating, and you think you're really not going anywhere, but man, after time, it just takes off. And to be able to tell my younger self that, hey, Ryan, don't worry about it. It's going to come. It's just, and it just kind of comes after some time. And, I look back on it now and then I really appreciate those days. But yeah, it's like, I was definitely, would have loved to have my older self come in and say, yeah, don't worry, it's coming.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Thank you for that. How can someone connect with you? Maybe they're in the same industry and they want to, get some advice from you or want to connect, or possibly maybe there's projects that they're associated to that they need to engage with you on a business level. How can they find you, your company, find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah. So, Petticoat Schmitt Civil Contractors, our website, petticoatschmitt.com. If anyone's looking for a work opportunity, we have a very robust application process. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. You're going to see and hear a lot about my philosophy and, what we're doing as a company. Our LinkedIn company profile is, you can find out a lot about us too. And, rschmitt at petticoatschmitt.com is my email if anyone wanted to reach out.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate your vulnerability, transparency, all the things you got to talk about here today, but you've been doing these things for years and years inside your organization. It's honestly been a pleasure to be able to give you a little bit of a microphone here today. And hopefully thousands are going to hear this message and be able to go implement like you have. So thank you for being here. Truly an honor. Blessings to you, your family, and all of your employees that are making big moves here this year. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chaz. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.